how it goes. We got Butler on the blue side, UCONN on the orange side, and so far UCONN are going to be taking it right down Butler's side of the field.
That's going to be a wide open net, and UCONN going to get rewarded early as Astro hits that across, and Kai turning with it actually resulted in a kind of accidental double commit. Roy's just going to punish that right off the bat, and so Butler being shown already that they're going to be given no space.
Absolutely, UCONN, they're going to strike first. They're going to strike deadly, very accurate, followed through with the shots. Great opening goal. Let's see if they can get another one. And again, they're back on this attack.
Certainly so, and going to get some nice little 50s in the corner here, but Butler on the first attack. That one's going to get ricocheted out. Kai to the backboard. Sire is going to come across, but no actual challenge. It's just going to have to bounce in the midfield as a little bit of hesitation there, but an open net. Is that going to go in? It's going to be just wide. Chirp went to the corner. Thought they had a little bit more time, but they get away with no punish. And now on the far side, the pass out on the outlet, that's going to be a miss. Droids will keep it interesting, but ultimately that attack is gone. So both teams getting looks, but so far only UCONN able to take one.
And neither team is going to go for the 50-50 aerials, which I think is a difference between the last two matches we've seen, is that generally you've had one team that's much more up in the air, another team that's playing a lot more on the ground. Also, both teams playing pretty quickly, and that's a big difference maker that should keep the series a bit more even. You saw there UCONN had an opportunity to increase that lead. It looks like two players had the same idea, and now they're going to leave that net wide open. It wasn't disaster for them the first time, but now they are going to pay.
And sometimes that's what some good passing is right there coming in from Astro. They don't look to do anything too cute with it. They just lob it straight up in the air. It makes the defender, I believe Droids, have to kind of commit to something, be bold, and unfortunately just not able to make that contact in time. But Chirp will make it there to prevent the attack off the kickoff, and a good up from Disaster will result in a nice clear out. So UCONN will survive, but unfortunately giving up that lead though to a somewhat unfortunate attack. And now with an even series, this is definitely something, as we mentioned, probably the best opportunity for us to have a series that's going to go the distance. And it's really, at this point, might just be down to execution and how well this defense can kind of hold in these certain situations.
Absolutely. I think it also comes to takeaways and giveaways. So far, we've seen UCONN, their dribbling hasn't been as on point. We've seen some balls have gone the other way because of that. They've had some missed opportunities. So we'll see if they can clean that up a little bit. But other than that, it's been very back and forth so far. The ball has been on the side of UCONN's side of the field for a little bit longer now, but just I say that they do now open it up to Butler. There's going to be a great aerial. It is going to go a bit to the side, but you're seeing they are taking those shots. They are taking those risks, and sometimes you pay for it, sometimes you cash out because of it, and that could have almost been a double jump there from Chirp, but not able to dribble it all the way in.
And 50 from Disaster is actually just going to go all the way into the corner. Chirp trying to read it. They will be able to get it, but it won't go up. It'll go across. Siren gets a bounce. It's a weird one. Disaster doesn't read it, but neither does anyone else on Butler, as they're going to have to retreat a little bit, but pressure's not done. Another one into the corner. Chirp straight out. The direction kind of changed from Siren, and they're going to have to keep rethinking, but they are able to keep gathering this out. UCONN really struggling to get continuous touches. With that 50, it actually will come all the way out, and Kai should be able to recover, but definitely an interesting play here. Butler just getting a bunch of pressure, and then immediately on the counter, the only chance UCONN's had in the past 30 seconds to a minute, it actually almost results in the goal.
Yeah, Droids tried to go for the demo. Is actually to hit another one now, but it was just a little bit too late on the first one. Tried to hit it before there was any sort of defense to come out from Butler. Didn't get it there. That goal not going to be found, and now Butler going to be on the counter attack. This is just super exciting. This is definitely the most back and forth action we've seen thus far. I think one thing I've noticed is that Butler is much better at interceptions, but UCONN seems to be better at playing mid. So I think that's going to be one of the difference makers we'll be looking out for. If UCONN can keep it at the midline and then open it up for themselves on attack, they give themselves a great position to just go for those fadeaway shots, open up those angles, and if Butler can keep intercepting passes and making opportunities off of it, they'll have the advantage going forward. But with a minute left, it's still a tie game, basically 0-0, even though it is 1-1.
Yeah, and certainly with a minute remaining, you don't really have too much space if you do give one up to be able to come back. So Certainly both these teams want to press for that winner, but you don't want to get a little too overzealous. Speaking of, the cut from Astro is actually going to take 2 players out. Chirp tries to pass this one in the middle. Disaster gets a little too close. That's a giveaway. Kai, the long shot. It's a great save by Droiz. The attack's not over yet, though. Siren off the corner. Disaster saves this one. Another touch coming in from Butler into the corner, across the middle. And that's going to be well to the back post. And another one will get slapped right back. So a little bit of a zigzag across the field, but ultimately won't make them bleed. Bump might open up a little bit, but defender's back and they will get that save. And now with 10 seconds remaining, how aggressive do you want to be? Do you want to go for the win, or are you going to take overtime? We'll have to see, as this one's to the back post. Will be saved. It's still lobbed up. Astro the double. They don't touch it, but Siren at 0 seconds will steal game 1.
Oh, steal, clutch out, however you want to call it. There's so many opportunities here for UCONN to just get the ball on the ground, get possession, try to get something going there. That ball just stays up in the air. You see 2 defenders. They overcommit to the right side. There's only one left near goal, and just the final kiss of death there that came in at the very end. Wow. What a first matchup we had. What an incredible start to the series. I would love to see more of these teams in action, and we know we're at least promised 2 more, but we could see that gauntlet being run. UConn, they had a great opportunity still to force an overtime and maybe win that matchup. It was truly a toss-up. Just a little bit better play there by Butler at the very end. I talked about those interceptions. They got one. They ran with it. They clinched it out.
I'm always a big fan, and advice I always try to give people on offense if they're looking for advice on, like, whether it's coaching or just analyzing what they're doing. On offense, Butler at the end of that game did something I absolutely love and I want to see more teams do. Not every touch has to be on target. Just make sure you're getting to it and keeping it weird for the other team. And at the end of that game, that ball, as I said, it was just zigzagging across the field. It was wrapping around their goal, but at the end of the day, it wasn't going out. UConn just lost the boost at the end. All it took is just a couple weird deflections, a couple awkward saves, and they were able to punish. And it's a great display right there. So now coming into this game number 2, if Butler have it in them again to be able to bring a second win home, or UConn have an answer to the very unfortunate ending for that first game.
And like you said, I mean, Butler played that perfectly. They just kept the ball alive. They kept it in UConn's end of the field, which is what they needed to do. And that's what they're starting to do once again. Oh, going right off the crossbar, so not going to be able to find another shot after that. That might have actually opened things up. UConn so close to getting that first goal again. Just a few unlucky bumps going both ways for these teams thus far. I mean, what more can you say? Compared to the last 2 series we've seen, this is an amazing match.
Yeah, it's certainly a lot of back and forth. The quality of skill is definitely always a treat for casters and viewers alike. So it's probably a little bit more stressful for the players, as they're dealing with a lot of pressure right now, as Butler gonna have to deal with a screamer, fortunately, right down in the middle. Now Astro bringing it to the air, just gonna lob past one, but not the second. And Butler has been a little bit under pressure to start this game, and they've had their own chances, but this is the best that we've seen from UConn, although it is still a 0-0 match headed into the first 90 seconds.
UConn struggles a little bit more in the defensive zone. Still plays pretty well, but again, if they get to mid, that's where they really thrive. They usually win those 50-50 battles there. They're able to get really nice clears. So far, that's what we've seen, is they've been able to open things up on the other end of the field. They've been able to get a few shots in. Haven't been able to find the go-ahead goal just yet, but here you see them roaring back with it. See if they can win that one. They are able to get it back, so they're still going to be able to... Oh, just missing that. Again, the demos, they're just a few seconds late. There have been great opportunities created, or potentially could have been created, if they were just a second or 2 sooner to getting it off. But they do get the ball back eventually.
And both teams looking for boosts. A lot of spread out. Now uncontested is Chirp, but they're not able to angle it. Kai's going to have to wrap around this for Butler, and they'll take a 50 in the midfield. Ball to the side, but it'll just sit there for just a second as Astro lobs one. Open space, Siren. That's a chip past the last defender. Who can get it? No one can. It'll just be deflected to the side. Droiz will have to come up with another save. So UConn under pressure. That backboard starting to get pelted, but still 0-0 going into halftime. And at this point, I'm really not sure what it's going to take to come through with a goal, although UConn certainly trying to rely on these crossfield passes.
UConn, they try to get the crosses. The connections haven't been there every time. Sometimes you see a misplay there. They're actually able to hit it, but then the speed is not there to try to get any sort of momentum with it. Now the ball's going there. It's almost an empty net. It's a 2v1, but Chirp with a great save there. I think it comes down to maybe a play made off the demo. There's another one coming out from UConn, so have a player advantage for just a second.
Oh.
Can they get the shot? There it is! Disaster strikes in more than one way for Butler, and UConn going to open things up again. This time it took a lot longer.
Oh, that's brutal. Two different players have a touch on it, and they just touch right before they actually get the ball. So opened the gateway for Disaster to come in, and fitting person to score after that somewhat defensive mistake. But now they're going to have to make sure they get out of it on their own defensive half. Kai with a shot, and that's going to tuck underneath the defender. And as quick as you like, that's going to be Butler back in it.
Yeah, look at that. It just seems like UConn didn't know where the ball was. It seems like they might have lost track of the objective for just a split second. There was one in goal. There was one trying to go up for the block. Neither of them were able to get it. Unfortunate for UConn that as soon as they get that lead, they give it right back. And this is looking very similar to the matchup we just had, match number 1. It's 1-1, tie game. Only a little bit of time left, minute 35. And UConn, once again, marching down the field looking for an aerial play.
That's a 50. It's going to come out. Kai will just send one deep, but Droys gets a good clear, and it gets around the first player, so they can keep advancing. And with some midfield boost, they'll fake out one. They'll go for a cut, but it'll get deflected down. Astro lurking down there on the cherry pick. Might be able to generate something. They'll generate a great pass, and Siren comes through. And what is this comeback here? Butler from one down, now leading, headed into almost in the final minute.
That was such a lucky bounce there for Butler, but they make the most of it. It almost bounces right off the corner of the goal, which should have sent it back to the right side. Instead, it bounces right outside of it, goes right towards the net, and just a little bit of a tap there. Doesn't need a huge shot, doesn't need a lot of force or speed, but just enough to get past the defender, get it in, and Butler, they were down 0-1, but that was such a small amount of time. They're up now 2-1.
That ball precarious in front of the goal. Droys will lob it. Kai's gonna have to recover, and they will. Chirp will keep it in the blue half for now, but good defense coming out from Butler, and they only need to last for a little bit longer. But Chirp with a brilliant pass off the backboard. Kai can't read it, and Chirp can, but it's gonna be saved again. Disaster coming through. They're gonna get beat. Droys over the top, open net. Kai can't save it, in 2-2 again.
That was such an amazing shot. Let's see how this plays out. Astro tries to clear it. That mid play, I talked about how good mid is for UConn. They're waiting in the wings. They get the shot off right off of the interception. Doesn't even try to dribble. In 30 seconds left. We were in this position earlier on where it looks like we were going to overtime, but then Butler clutched out. Will it be the same again? We're going to have to find out, folks. This is a nail biter. Now only 20 seconds left.
Now Droy's coming through. A great pass down to Chirp. It's over the bar. And now with the open field, Siren will just hit it downfield. But Chirp will be able to recover. And now, approaching 0 seconds, it's still in the UConn half. Something that they're not comfortable with, especially after the way that last game ended. But it will, this time, be going to overtime. And we could not have asked for a better way to end this broadcast. This series is as close as you can get it. And we're going to start off with some nice overtime to decide if the series is going to extend a lead or if we're going to go back to an even set.
Absolutely. We'll see what happens right now. UConn able to get it to the other side of the field. A shot doesn't have enough power to get in, but this is still UConn's position for the time being. If they can reset, maybe they can get the ball back. That's what they're going for, but Kai able to get it to the other side of the field. So now Droy's going to have some fancy work here. The ball, it just keeps going back and forth. No one's had a real opportunity so far, despite the fact that it's been on both ends of the field.
And
that might be it.
Droys
that is it.
Be able to capitalize the crossfield pass just behind that defender, and that's why it's so important to be exactly where you need to be positionally. But Droys will punish that and bring UConn back. That will be a 1-1 scoreline here in this series, but my goodness, what a back and forth from both these squads.
I could not stress enough how important midfield is for UConn. Again, another turnover. Very lucky, just bounced right off of Kai, so awkward a bit. They were trying to get it cleared all the way out. Instead, it goes right off the side of their car, goes all the way to the right, and there, the shot from midfield goes in, and it's all tied up 1-1. And regardless of how this ends, I think this just shows that UConn, they might not be as high as Butler or some of the other teams we've seen today in the standings, but they can play just as well as them. They can play up to them. They are beating teams like Butler, at least in, one match in the series. So far, we'll have to see how the rest of the series plays out, but I think they are a team that could definitely be a dark horse going forward.
Yeah, if we want to talk about a player pushing an issue, Droids, 9 shots alone in that game for UConn. So certainly if you're looking for a talisman to force the issue on offense, I think UConn's found their guy, but moving forward, we'll have to see if they can keep up that productivity. Very hard at this level, especially against a team as organized as Butler has been. But heading into game number 3, even series, who will take the lead? It's going to take at least 5 minutes to find out. And so far, UConn's playing like a team that wants it to be them. Some good crossfield passing and some initial pressure off the bat is making Butler sweat.
Yeah, the rotations are great. They have done a good job of keeping the ball so far in this third matchup out of their zone. The ball is going to go in, and I guess the one question is, how good can they rotate defensively? There have been some things that they have kind of messed up on, some defensive balls that they have double teamed on, and they have left their net wide open, mostly in the first matchup. Didn't see it as much in the second, in which they won. We'll see how that continues thus far. That was a good defensive rotation that time, and now they are able to carry it back to the other end of the field, and now that ball is just in a hole. That was lucky for them. That almost went all the way in.
Yeah, but instead they will get away with it, and a little bit of a bump opens up some space, but no one gets there except Kai, who is going to send one into the top shelf on the open net. So unfortunate coming out from the UConn defense.
Yeah, Chirp. Again, look at that. There were 2 defenders there, both Chirps, and I think Droids were there. They both cross over opposite ends, but neither of them able to get any touch on that ball. Top shelf goal, perfectly placed. Nothing that UConn can do about that one. And for the first time in the series, Butler is going to open up the scoring.
They'll actually maybe add a second. Droy says no, but Siren's going to at least keep pressing the issue. But no follow-up touch there. Kai coming back. Trying to lob one down the line. They'll get one again past the defender. Chirp doesn't challenge. Open dribble, deflected in the middle. Siren, it's on target, not fast enough. And UConn struggling a little bit down the stretch here, but it's certainly, Butler's not out of this by any means. They're looking for more, and they might get it, especially when you don't close those aerials down. Another save coming through, but Butler looking to draw some more blood.
Are indeed UConn trying to find first blood in this matchup. Now they're going to get one right on net. Oh, that was a great save by Astru. Chirp just wasn't able to get any elevation on it. A missed opportunity there for UConn. I'm going to say it looks like before Butler got their second goal that Kai had backed out, but possibly could have been a cross. But instead it actually worked out in their favor. It gave UConn a false sense of security that they could win that ball back and move it forward. Instead they didn't. The second goal came through, and first goal, I believe. Yeah, first goal came through. So there was Butler's scoring chance. And now at halftime, it's 1-0. This has been such a low-scoring series thus far, and there is the equalizer. Disaster. Not going to make the same pun, but they are going to get the first goal for UConn once again. And things are tied up even as they should be in what has been just a great series. I've been smiling ear to ear of how awesome this has been.
It's definitely as close as you like. And on that one, I mean, you talk about the importance of boost, but I don't think you really understand just how important really any pixel of boost on that boost meter can be at the end. That last goal just getting trickled in from Disaster just past the bumper of really by pixels of the bumper of that defender. So really shows the margin with what we're dealing with in some of these goals. But coming in with this equal scoreline, gotta be making sure you're not giving away anything. As I say that, Disaster, they're just gonna scoop one out of the hands of the Butler defense.
Yep, again, midfield, every time they see Butler try to make a play through it, there is a defender waiting to try to go for the interception. Gets the ball back, goes for a great pass, and UConn, they were down, now they're back up. These leads just keep going back and forth, and UConn, I would like to see them play a little bit. All right, well, you know what? Now I can't even say it because then immediately gets where I would see. I would love to see them play keep away instead of going for some aggressive plays, try to just keep possession. But now they're going to have to play a little bit more aggressively because the series is tied up again.
And that's why game awareness is so important, but sometimes it's just so difficult. Droids was the last player back. They're trying to get some boosts. Both players commit on the sideline. It just deflects just fast enough, and the defender on Butler reacts just in time. So player going innocently for a corner turns into the player that's no longer in goal to save their kind of teammates' backs there. So very unfortunate result there, but a bunch of overlapping movement means no one is back for Butler, and that's a third.
Just a great follow-up there by Droids. You see, the ball was taken away for just a second, but Droids follows through, is able to nudge it over to Chirp, who's able to, in turn, nudge it in themselves. So it doesn't have to be the flashiest play. Sometimes it's a little bit of luck, a little bit of skill, and not a tie game. I was going to say, oh, is it? I was going to say, if they tie it up here again, this is just crazy the amount of scoring. I was going to say, basically been a low-scoring affair thus far, but this has been the highest-scoring game of the series. Now, Disaster's looking for 3. I believe that is, 3 goals. That is the hat trick. That's going to give UConn their biggest lead of the series.
And you can't hit it much sweeter than that. Disaster's catching every single bit of that ball, puts it top shelf, a little bit too fast for the defender, but good way to open it up here. So now with the 2-goal lead, 81 seconds on the clock, and Butler now in an interesting position where they're letting a game get away from them really for the first time of the series. And they have a good pass there, but it's cut out. And now with that kind of desperation lunge, I wonder, are they going to be able to get punished for this? As Chirp with a great pass, but Kai, playing hero, will get that save.
Yeah, almost opportunity to open up that lead even more. But again, I still think that UConn should be playing a bit more passively. There is nothing more they need to prove here. If they go too aggro and they give the ball up, it just gives Butler even more opportunity to get back in this. There's only a minute left. I mean, sure, if you can get a counter play like this, but you don't, then you can just play a little bit more defensively again. Like you see that they're committing a lot to this attack, and that might put them into a position where they are very vulnerable, depending on how Butler plays this. For now, it looks like they are able to rotate, so it won't matter, but if they keep playing this dangerous line of trying to get another goal, it could prove deadly down the line.
But good influence of clock management there from Droids. Doesn't throw the ball away, keeps it close, forces a 50, wins the first one, then just tries to keep going and are successfully able to lob that down. So doesn't seem like they're doing much with that. But at the end of the day, when you have a 2-goal lead you're trying to protect, every second you're ticking off the clock makes the job a lot harder. And now that job has gone from hard to just simply not possible. UConn gonna take the lead in the series.
UConn now on match point. Could we see what would be an upset by standings wise? But honestly, it does not seem like an upset to me, considering how good UConn has played today. They seem to be playing much above their rank and standings coming into this game, and just Disaster especially has been really on top of this, has been the go-getter for UConn. A hat trick, highest score that we've seen so far in this series, 4 goals for UConn, 6 total in the matchup. It looks like UConn, they pulled away a little bit, which was surprising because for a lot of that third matchup, it was back and forth. You saw UConn scored, or Butler scored first, then UConn, then Butler. You know, it just kept going back and forth. But then UConn, they got that third goal, and that fourth one really put that, at least that match, on ice.
And one thing that's good to see from UConn, and something I'm a fan of, is when the game number 2, we really saw Droids step up and generate a lot of offensive pressure. But then the next game, it was Disaster that stepped up, got that hat trick, and is able to be kind of the leader to push them through to that win. And it's good to see that teams aren't relying on one player, that everyone can step up when needed to. And headed into that match point, he said Butler losing by hilariously the largest margin of the night, which is just 2 goals. Now it's really on them to respond. But with a clean game and now kind of refreshed motivation, we'll have to see what this Butler squad is made of.
Yep, your mindset at this point has to be GG, go next. It might be down 2, or I guess 1 in the entirety of the series, but you still won 1. You won the first matchup. So as long as you win this one, you keep going, you stay alive. And UConn looking very deadly at the beginning, looking very proficient. Not just knocking on the doorstep, they blow the door down, and 30 seconds in, 29 to be exact, there is going to be Chirps. We talked about Chirps partners earlier, both Droids as well as the other one. I can't remember their name at this moment, but both of them, Disaster, there it is, Disaster. They have been the ones that we talked about, have been the card carry so far, but Chirp still putting on a great performance in their own right, and there they are, going to be the first one to score.
Now Droids quickly up, gets a nice touch. It doesn't have to be far, it just has to be dangerous, and it will be. Chirp They'll get the save generated out of Butler. Another shot coming through, forcing some heroics, but now with a little bit of space, Butler on a dribble. Kai does a little stick handling, fakes out that defender, and they get an equalizer.
There was a great opportunity there for Kai's shot to be blocked by Droiz. It looks like they overestimated how high it would go in the air. So the defense rotation there that time for UConn was not as efficient as it has been in the past. Again, you give a little, you get a little. Again, it's immediately tied up. I don't know why I'm expecting anything less at this point. Butler, even when they're down, they're never out. UConn, exactly the same way.
Now they're on the back foot a little bit, but Chirp gets a nice little touch, and Droiz will try to set it up. 3-person passing play. Shouldn't be too much trouble, but Siren puts it down the middle. Possession pass. Droiz goes for a backboard read. He'll commit fully to that one. So now on the counter, Butler just can't quite get there. Astro, the sideline. Chirp waits for it. They'll try a dribble, but Kai cuts it out. Siren getting in the way, and a lot of bumps in the midfield will open up a decent amount of space for Droiz to work with, but 50 will certainly slow those efforts down, and a lot of chaos in the midfield here as both teams just trying to get any kind of sensible touch on the ball.
One thing I really like that Droiz did there is that after getting the ball back, instead of just running it in using all the speed they had, they slowed it down, waited for the teammates to come back. Unfortunately for them, not able to actually connect on anything, immediately turned the ball over. But it's the communication. You can tell they were trying to set something up there. They were trying to lay and wait a little bit. They've done very good at playing a fast game, as has Butler. But sometimes it's those slow plays in between that can be the difference makers. So far, the ball's still on their side of the field, but they're looking to turn it back up as soon as they get that clear out.
Now Chirp on the air dribble. That's going to generate a double commit. Now it's technically a 3-on-1, and Kai is up to the challenge. Gets a good 50 and allows his teammates to rotate back, but they're not out of the woods yet. Droiz, that shot saved. Disaster. The cut will be cut out. And UConn is getting some good looks down the stretch, but it seems like they're almost taking a little bit too much time on these opportunities, or maybe they just don't really fully understand just how much time they have, because that's the second or third time I've noticed they've had a man advantage. They're just not taking advantage of it until now, I guess. Chirps puts a second one in.
Yeah, they said, hey, Danger Taco, we'll take as much time as we want to get these goals. They'll come. Don't you worry. But I agree. I talked earlier about they were setting up like some of those set plays. They were slowing down. But you can't be too slow on a breakaway. You see this a lot in games like hockey, where this like they run down and like they try to get too fancy with it. They try to think too much about it. Just shoot. When you have a player advantage like that, even if you miss the first shot, it's a much better chance of getting the rebound instead of giving time for the defenders to come back in. So by the time they actually got even close to the net, it was, I think, at least a 3v2 instead of a 3v1. So sometimes you just got to have a little bit more instincts, a little bit less brains, a little bit less intelligence of it, just shoot. Just shoot, forehead.
Certainly so, and these are collegiate players. They certainly have plenty of kind of brain within this forehead, so certainly love to use them within these games. But right now, I'm sure the panic is also setting in with such a close matchup, still a 1-goal game, and UConn kind of struggling to get it out of this corner, but they will find a little bit of space here as Disaster, I think, goes for a bump instead. It will generate a little bit of awkwardness from Kai as Chirp trying to set up a pass, air dribble, nothing coming out from that. Disaster back across the middle. Kai gets a long hit. Sirens up
no.
as well. And that's to the corner. Kai waiting for a pass. They'll get it. Astro's there off the near post. No thing going. Siren gets denied, and Kai will miss, and that'll allow UConn a little bit of break out to the corner. More time off the clock, and now we're under a minute.
It's like Droiz was going to severely underestimate how high that ball was going to go on the defense. They were the last line there, and now they're going to be helping get that ball in. So that great save on the other side of the field, let them have a great counterattack. There is Chirp, who has been the MVP of this game for UConn. So each player for UConn at one point in the series has been stepping up big. And now that 2-goal lead, that might be enough for them to cement this victory in what has been an amazing series.
Yeah, certainly so, but they still have to hold on for 40 more seconds, and 40 seconds, a lot can happen. Siren's trying to prove that right now. Off the backboard, Kai, no touch on the follow-up. They're going to get a little bit of some quirky touches there, but not resulting in anything, and Droiz will get a clear, and a good chance there just kind of squandered by Butler. So I think that UConn definitely has the strength to hold out here, but I don't really want to chalk this one up quite yet, or at least until I see how these final attacks go through. But with all these clears, it just becomes less and less likely.
Well, that was the best opportunity that Butler had to try to get one more on the board. 3 seconds left, not in their zone. That is going to be... Can they get one more? They do. That is going to be Chirp. Not only getting a hat trick, but getting 4 on the board. We saw a hat trick last time for Disaster, and that is going to be lights out. That is going to be the finishing touch from University of Connecticut. They are going to take this victory. What has been an upset, at least according to standings, but from the way UConn has been playing, you know, I called them a dark horse earlier on when they were down 1-0. I really think this team could go much further in this tournament with how they were playing. Unfortunately, we're not going to have time for an interview. I'd love to hear about, you know, how they've swapped things up over the break, if they've, you know, changed rosters or anything like that, if they've just been working on strategies, but they looked so good. They looked like one of the top tier teams here in EGFC Rocket League.
And I think one of the most consistent traits of so many of these teams that find success down the stretch, and really any league, is when an opportunity presents itself, how often are you just taking it? And I felt like there was a couple times where Butler had space down the stretch in game, especially in games 3 and 4, where I felt like they were had a chance and then they kind of just took it a little bit too slow, or they didn't quite think it through, or they just kind of threw it downfield. And I felt like they could have developed that a little bit cleaner. I felt like UConn was a little bit more cheeky with how they approached a lot of attacks, and I think they were rewarded for the most part. I did criticize them at one point for taking too much time, but ultimately, the percentage wise, they were taking most of their opportunities. There would just be a gap to get a 50 or get a quick shot in, and they took it and they were rewarded for it. And at the end of the day, I agree. UConn, if they can carry this momentum forward, I mean, this is a very evenly matched squad. And over time, I felt like it was just all UConn after a bit.
And that's such a away from Butler. I mean, they still won the first game, which was very
Yeah.
close. They had a great shot at the last second to avoid overtime. I think that after the second matchup, you could tell they were playing a little bit less confident. They looked a little bit more tense. So I think that some of the opportunities they had, they weren't able to execute. Maybe there's a bit of a mental game, knowing that, you know, you are the favorite going into this. That can kind of get into your head. But Butler is still definitely a team to be looking out for as well, still near the top of the standing. So we'll see how they do later on. But with that being the last of our games here, I think you and I, Danger Taco, I think we're about ready to wrap things up.
Yeah, so certainly I would love for everyone to come back next week. We'll have more Rocket League action for you here in this collegiate scene. But yeah, for right now, that should be doing it us for all of us here at EGF with Juke on the broadcast and Jag and I in the booth. Wish you guys a very good rest of your week, and hopefully we'll see you guys here in 7 days' time.